Hello, Randy Rain here, and this time I'm going to be refurbishing this vintage rare robot. Now I know it's rare because it says so in this eBay ad, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and I must be sitting on a mother load because I have 3 of these rare vintage robots. So, let's refurbish them. This is
Randy's Robot Refurbished!
It's the Tomy DingBot. If someone asked me what robot I think sold the most by Tomy, I would say it's the DingBot. So when people say they're rare on these eBay pages, I have to wonder, rare by what standards? By Tomy robots? I don't think so. Anyway, because I have several of them. Now this one I've already refurbished a while back for myself. And since then I have these 2. I've given these 2 my standard test just to see how much they work. I've sanded down the terminal leads on the battery ports, and nothing. I took the switch and I went back and forth a few times to really see if there's any grime that it gets rid of. Nothing. And I've also just kind of worked it a little bit. Believe it or not, that's how I fixed this one. It just needed a little love and then tapping, and the gears finally got working, and so that's what it did. These didn't pass that test at all. So, the classic Tomy DingBot. Let's go. I'm going to start with what I believe to be is the oldest one. You have to pop these off as well. There's screws hidden behind the shoulders here. There's this little black piece. Then you can take the arm off. And then it's free that side. These wheels and feet thing, they just come right off. And there he is. Okay, and we'll see if it works. Bypass everything electrical. Hook that to the negative part of the motor. That one's going to go to the positive part of the motor. Going to prop this up so that the wheel doesn't touch. Positive and negative. Okay, the motor's turning. And a few gears are turning. But something's not working. So, we just have really ugly battery terminals. Alright, here's my way of fixing this. I take this stuff, spray it down onto the terminal. I take a screwdriver, and I scrape it away. I think the battery terminals are making connection now. I think it's all in the switch. So it's going to be this lead right back here that still has some corrosion where this piece goes and touches. Well, there it goes. Alright. Everything down here is working, but I'm not getting power to here or up here. So somewhere the gears are stopping. Time to take this section apart. To get down here, you have to get this part open, and a knife, very thin knife, will get it open. Next, I'm going to try taking these screws out. Maybe this whole thing comes off in a section. Close up of the inside here. This is the switch part. You can see this is where I cleaned off here. Wasn't making good contact when this goes over to here. So I found the culprit, and there it is. Cracked gear spinning on the shaft. Looks like I'll be making a mold for this tiny little thing. Same problem. First thing I want to do is use some alcohol and cotton swabs here. Try to get some oil, all this oil and stuff off of the gear. Put a little glue, just a little dab. Now the CA glue is strong enough to hold it onto this board for a little while. If one good flick and it's going to pop right off of there. But it's not strong enough, or will it even hold the crack. So don't even try to glue these things back together. This is nylon. It's not going to stick to nylon. So get me some clay, smash it out like that, and I'll take some scissors and I'll cut me a nice flat edge. Now I'll take the clay and smash it down. Alright, I have my silicone. Most important thing is to get it down into the shaft area. Just kind of work it down there. Now I have some cotton from the cotton swab. Get it covered in the silicone. Now I'm going to stuff it down into the hole. So now I can pour the rest. Now I can pour just a little bit more. Now I have to make sure it gets all in those teeth. So we'll let that sit just a little bit so it gets all the air bubbles out. Alright, let's set that aside to cure. Now to demold without breaking that little centerpiece, I want to break the glue joint that I have the gear down on. There we go. A little cleanup and that'll work. I'm having to use a different plastic. The other plastic I used isn't strong enough for such a small little piece. So I had some issues with the plastic I was using. It was either too soft or I couldn't get all the bubbles out, and I didn't want to break out my pressure pot for it, and I didn't want to buy some fancy plastic to do it. So I had to come up with a better way that I could do with what I had. I went with 5-minute epoxy. Now, if you know anything about 5-minute epoxy, you know it cures soft and you don't think it's going to work. But think about a year from now how hard that epoxy is. As epoxy ages, it gets harder. So I need to make it get harder faster. And that's simply done by heat. So what I did was I took some epoxy and a toothpick and I worked it to get all the little air bubbles out and get it in every little spot, in every little crevice. It took me 3 molds to get this thing because they kept breaking with all the failed attempts that I was having. So I decided with this one, which still had a little nub left in it for where the shaft goes. And I got the epoxy in and I let it cure. Then I took it and I put it in the oven at 170 degrees for several hours. And I let it post-cure, which made it extremely hard and worked out perfectly. So let's go through the workings. Start at the motor. You have a gear that goes to an angle gear, so it changes direction. It goes from small to big, small. So you're gearing down. You now have a gear with a spring here, and that one gets to here. And you can see that this gear is very long, so it rides up on that gear. When this one gets pushed down, it engages this one. When it's up, it doesn't. And then this piece gets put, when it gets put on, this is the noise maker. It's gonna beep, 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 beep. And that's all gonna get controlled, whether this thing goes down and engages here, or if it goes up, or whether it's going to do that, make the noise. It's all going to be done from up here. And that screw is what's turning that new gear that I've made. So give it a shot. But to go, what happens is this gear gets put on top of here. Now this gear is the timing of all the things that happen. First of all, you have this little ramp right here. This little ramp is what pushes this gear down to engage the drive wheel. There's these little bumps right here that you can see here. That's what makes the noise beep, 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 beep. That's why there are 3 and 2. Then you have this gear up here along with the flat side. And the way this works is this gets put here. As this spins around, it's flat up against here. Then when it hits the gears, it makes this thing start going in circles, which is what makes the head go back and forth. So give it a little test. I'll hold that gear in place. As it comes around, you'll see this thing start engaging. I think that'll work. So now this piece gets put on top. And you have to make sure that this gets put into here because this is what's turning the head back and forth. And now we'll put the screws. There's supposed to be a little pin sticking up right here that's broken off. I'm going to replace it with a small metal rod. here's the wheels to the DingBot. You can see that the tires are just gone on these. So I go through and clean this all out. Other ones are just as bad. So I'm going to do all four. So here's all of the broken, rotted tires. All of the wheels are all clean. And I've thought about recreating these little tires. But why should I do that when you can really just go to the store and buy a box of assorted tires for robots? If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, they're also called O-rings. You can get them at any auto supply store. And you just pull one out and put it on there, and look there. There's your tire. There's also this tire here, and you can just kind of push these apart. There it goes. And this one is toast. So my robot tire replacement kit, looks like that one would be a good one. So I'm going to be replacing this sticker, and so I need to get it off. So I'm going to try a new method. Just heat from a hairdryer. That worked fairly good. So I printed out some My Robot OMSB here on one of these clear labels. That's close enough. It's just for fun. Well, there it is. My DingBots are all working now. The two that I had to repair are done. It turned out to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, but I did finally get it done to go with my third one. And I feel so lucky to have such rare things in my possession. Well, thank you for watching. That was
Randy's Robot Refurbished.